Oh my gosh. Are you joking me? Okay, this is where we left off last video. I showed you drawing basic shapes, putting them together and overlapping them, and then using your pencil to shade grayscale. And I could even do more shading on this. This video is about color, so I'm going to show you now how to translate this whole thing using color. And I'm using colored pencils. You are welcome to use paint or chalk or whatever kind of materials, or crayon. I feel like colored pencil is a good place to start. And I, of course, have my color wheel. And that's really helpful. I'm going to tell you how I use this color wheel. So I did not shade using black. I shaded using the opposite color. So for example, here's my orange. And if you look at orange on the color wheel and you go straight across, you're going to find blue. So I shaded my orange not with black, but with blue. And you can probably tell that I used blue. And the blue is going to help it look more dull, more like a gray, more realistic, and more three-dimensional. Here is green, and if I look at my color wheel and I go across from green, you're going to find red. So that was shaded with red. Now really it's a yellow green, so I added some yellow to that green. So if you go across the color wheel from yellow, you'll find violet. So I actually shaded that with not only red, but violet. So I shade it with a red-violet. This pear is a yellow-orange. So when you go here and you look yellow-orange and you go across, you will find blue-violet. So I shaded that with blue-violet. You might be able to tell. The apple, red apple up here. Again, we already said the opposite of red is green, so that was shaded with green. And the violet, these grapes, it's hard to shade with yellow, even though violet is the opposite of yellow. Violet and yellow are opposites. I shaded with all three primary colors, and that is also a really great way to shade with all three primaries instead of black. And I'll show you the difference. I'll show you why I use color, not black in the very end. In the background, I was using blue, and I dulled it down again with the opposite of blue, orange. So the opposite color is going to dull it down, and I didn't want this background color to pop out because it's in the back. I wanted it to recede. I wanted this to pop out and this to pop out. So that's why some of this green I left really bright and some of this yellow I left really bright. And I used the side of my pencil here to create texture on the orange. Okay, so here I have one started for you, and I'm just going to start showing you how to do this. So make sure you have a nice sharp pencil, and then you're going to use the side of the pencil curving with the curve of the object. That will help make it look more round, using equal pressure, not too hard, not too light. If you want a more opaque look, you're going to go over it more times. And in the end, you might go over it harder. But because we're building up the color, I am not going to put down a really hard drawing first. I'm going to kind of start like that, and then it's more of a yellow green. So I'm going to mix my yellow in there, curving with the curve of the object, using equal pressure, and there you go. And then I'm going to shade with my orange. So here, where the apple goes into, oops, I'm sorry, blue. I'm supposed to be shading with blue. Whoops. No, I'm supposed to be shading with red. Oh my goodness. Okay, it doesn't matter, you guys, as long you can shade with all the primary colors as well. It also will work. And here's a little bit of shadow up here. And you can kind of see how the red really does look like a shadow. If it gets too red, go in there and blend in some of your green. It really does look like a shadow. Okay, so let's do, I want to do the apple for you. And again, we're going to use the side of your pencil, one direction, curving with the curve of the apple. And I'm going to just first put down a nice, light, careful color. I'll use a little brown in here, but I'm probably going to mix some colors into that stem even. Okay, and then to shade with the green, I'm going to kind of go like this and do some of the. And at first it might look a little green, but once I go over it again with the red, I think it'll look better. There's a lot of shadow here where the pear is casting a shadow, and not so much here. All right. And then let's just go over it again with the red. And this time, if I did want it to look like a nice shiny apple, I could really use this dark. I'll get that nice red shine. All right. So here's my original, which looks a little bit better. Of course, it never turns out as good when you're recording it. I'll look at that for some ideas. And if it looks too red, you know, you could dull it down with some violet or something. All right, not bad. I think I like it better on this one, but that's the way it goes. Okay, my pear is a yellow-orange. So I'll put down my yellow first. You want nice sharp lines, edges, you guys. You don't want fuzzy edges. You want nice sharp edges. Sometimes fuzzy edges are appropriate, but I'm not so sure in a still life we would want fuzzy edges. Here I am mixing in. I want it to be kind of a golden color to start with. So I'm starting with my yellow and orange, and then the opposites to shade are blue and violet. So I'll shade with the blue and violet. There's a little bit of a shadow here, and I'm curving with the curve of the pear, and here I'm curving with the curve. And let's get some of that blue in there. Violet, blue. All right, how's that coming? And then I'm going to go over it with the yellow, kind of blend it all together. kind of golden look. This works really well with chalk, if you want to try chalk. So pear maybe turned out a little bit better than on the original. So blue and violet. Okay. Oh, I can also see kind of where that pear touches like that. Okay. And I'll do the orange. Now with the orange, I really want some texture. So you can see how I'm using a round curving shape. Because I want to kind of show that texture. So I'm not exactly going with the curve of the object because I don't want it to look so smooth. And mixing in maybe some yellow, and then of course if you remember, going here, the opposite of orange is blue, yellow and violet, so I'm going to shade with blue. I could shade with a little violet too, but I think the blue is a really nice choice to shade with. You can it really looks like a shadow. Okay, and then for the grapes, let me show you a trick for the grape. Okay, so for the grape, there's going to be shadows kind of where it's overlapping, and then there's going to always be kind of a shiny spot on it. So I'm just going to do this with the pencil. I'm going to leave this the brightest. I'm going to color around it. And then where it overlaps, I'm going to color even darker. So you can see how you can do your shading really only by just using your pencil lighter and darker. So that does work. But sometimes you're going to have to mix your colors too. So there you go. And then when I was doing just adjust this because this is going to come more, my basket. So I was really kind of showing the curving of the, what would you call this? The parts of the basket, whatever, the fiber that the basket's made out of. And I can do those darker and then color lighter. But what should I do with these areas that are really dark inside the basket? So with those areas, I'm going to use all three of my primary colors, and let's see how that works. So I'm doing red, blue, and yellow. Yeah, so that really does look like a shadow. So, okay, and then when you're doing your background, just make sure you're using some kind of mark. Like I was coloring like this on my first one, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like I could color, like whatever mark you do, I could do something like this. For the background. And then let's think about what I might put in with that, like a little bit of violet maybe. But then I want that background to push back. So I am going to shade it with the opposite. So I am going to put a little bit of orange in with the blue, and you should see that kind of receding into the background. And maybe even a little bit of yellow, not a lot because yellow is super bright. Okay, and you can see how that background should be pushing back while the fruit is pushing forward. Okay, The other thing I want to point out is that it's good to put a line for the table, indicate some texture or color on the table, and make sure you have that cast shadow, the shadow that the basket is going to cast on your tabletop. I want to show you now why I don't use black to shade, and I'm going to ruin my drawing to show you that. I almost hate to do it, but here we go. Okay, I am going to shade with black, and actually it might not work. You might not see. It might actually look good because there's all the other colors on there. Okay, but it doesn't look good. This is why I don't shade with black. So what happens is black is just popping out at you. It's, watch what I do here when I color this part in black. This is supposed to be like this, the inside of the pot looking into the basket. And look at what happened. It's so dark, it just pops out at you. It really doesn't look like it's receding into the basket. So black isn't, it will work for shading, but you can see how, and I will just shade this with black, how it kind of flattens things out. And it just doesn't look as good as shading with the opposite. But you're welcome to try shade with black and white. It's completely okay to do. But I will say most artists are going to be shading with, and you can see the difference. So look at that, where I added black and where I didn't add black. It just looks so much more realistic. Some people like the black, but okay, so I will be showing you painting next time. I do feel it's important to play around with the color using crayon or pencil before you move to the paint. Or chalk too, you could try any one of those.